Alien girls set traps to catch males. The reason will shock you. Jason Briggs had always prided himself on being alert and aware of his surroundings. As a former Special Forces operator turned xenobiological surveyor, staying alive in hostile environments was practically second nature, which made his current predicament all the more embarrassing. Well, what an excellent specimen we've caught today. A melodious voice with an exotic accent called out from somewhere below him. Jason tried to focus his swimming vision, fighting against the throbbing in his head where he'd struck it during his undignified capture. He was suspended upside down in some kind of advanced synthetic mesh net, swaying gently in the alien jungle's warm breeze. His bare chest was already starting to glisten with sweat in the humid air, and his dark green cargo pants felt uncomfortably tight in this position. As his vision finally cleared, he found himself staring directly into a pair of mesmerizing, golden eyes set in a strikingly beautiful face. The owner of those eyes was distinctly humanoid, but clearly alien. Her skin a rich emerald green that seemed to shimmer in the dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy. Luxuriant waves of crimson hair cascaded past her shoulders, framing high cheekbones and full lips curved in an amused smile. Her attire was a curious mix of tactical and provocative, a form-fitting outfit with strategic cutouts that managed to be both practical and distracting. A variety of tools and weapons were strapped to her lithe frame. "Listen," Jason said, trying to maintain his dignity while hanging upside down. "I'm a xenobiological surveyor from Earth. This is all just a misunderstanding." The alien woman's smile widened, revealing perfect white teeth with slightly pronounced canines. "Oh, there's no misunderstanding at all, human male. You walked right into our trap just as intended." "Your trap?" Jason's training kicked in as he assessed his situation. The net seemed to be made of some kind of advanced polymer, strong but lightweight. His equipment pack was gone, probably dropped during his capture. At least he still had his combat knife strapped to his thigh, though reaching it in his current position would be tricky. "Indeed, the females of my village will be most pleased with such a fine trophy." She circled him slowly, her movements graceful and predatory. "I am Miara, by the way, lead huntress of the Verdant Vale clan. Look, Miara, if this is about food, there are plenty of other creatures in this jungle that would make a better meal. I'm probably pretty tough and stringy." He tried for a light tone, though his heart was racing. Miara threw back her head and laughed, the sound like musical chimes in the wind. "Oh, you silly man, we don't want to eat you." Her golden eyes sparkled with mischief. "Well, not in the way you're thinking." Before Jason could process that cryptic statement, two more female aliens emerged from the jungle. They were similar to Miara in appearance, though one had silver hair and the other deep blue. Both wore variations of the same tactical yet revealing attire. "Excellent work, Miara," the silver-haired one called out. "This one looks particularly strong and healthy." "And handsome too," the blue-haired one added with a predatory grin. "The elders will be very pleased." Jason felt a chill run down his spine despite the tropical heat. "Ladies, I think we need to discuss this situation like rational beings. I represent the Earth Xenological Survey Corps. My disappearance won't go unnoticed." "Oh, we're counting on that," Mira purred, reaching up to trail a finger along his jaw. "But by then, it will be far too late. Now let's get you back to the village. We have such wonderful plans for you." The three women worked together to lower the net, though they kept him securely bound. As they began to lead him through the jungle, Jason's mind raced. He needed to escape, but something told him these weren't just simple tribal hunters. Their equipment was too advanced, their movements too precise. What had he stumbled into? And what exactly did they mean by plans? The village of the Verdant Vale clan was a striking blend of advanced technology and primal aesthetics. Crystalline structures grew from the ground like exotic flowers, their surfaces gleaming with internal light. Jason observed all this from inside a spacious but secure containment cell, more like a luxurious cage than a prison, with comfortable furnishings and amenities that seemed designed for extended stays. "Comfortable? Human?" Miara's musical voice drew his attention. She stood outside the energy barrier, her golden eyes dancing with amusement. "The Council of Matriarchs will see you shortly." Jason sat on the plush bed, studying his captor. "You know, most species start with a simple hello rather than kidnapping. It's generally considered more polite." Myra's laughter echoed through the chamber. Oh, wait, we've been watching your kind for quite some time. Your species has certain qualities we find fascinating. Her gaze traveled appreciatively over his muscular frame. Very fascinating indeed. A statuesque alien woman with violet skin and silver hair, Jason recognized her as one of his captors from earlier, approached Miara. "The council is ready," she announced, then turned to Jason with a predatory smile. "I'm Sierra, by the way. You'll be getting to know me quite well later." The implications of that statement sent a shiver down Jason's spine. His military training had covered many scenarios, but nothing quite like this. Led to a vast chamber decorated with flowing tapestries and glowing crystals, Jason found himself facing 7 elderly alien women seated on ornate chairs. Their skin tones ranged from emerald to azure, their white hair elaborate braided with precious stones. The central figure, her skin a deep forest green, spoke first. "Welcome, Earth Male. I am High Matriarch Naira. You stand before the Council of the Verdant Vale clan." "I'm honored," Jason replied diplomatically, "though I usually prefer my introductions to involve less netting in captivity." Several younger women gathered around the chamber's edges, tittered at his response. Jason noticed they were all watching him with intense interest. "You humans," Naira continued, "possess certain qualities our species desperately needs. Our males have become increasingly rare, and those remaining are," she paused, searching for the right word, "inadequate for our needs." "And what needs would those be?" Jason asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. A younger matriarch with azure skin leaned forward. "Our species requires genetic diversity to survive, but more than that, we require satisfaction. Our males lack the stamina, the vigor, the raw vitality we've observed in human males." "We've studied your species extensively," another matriarch added. "Your reproductive capabilities are legendary among spacefaring races. One human male can satisfy multiple females without requiring recovery periods like most species." Jason felt his face flush. "Look, I'm flattered, but you can't just—" "You will help ensure our species' survival," Naira declared. "You will mate with selected females of our clan. Refuse, and your death will be unfortunate." "And if I agree?" Jason asked, buying time to think. "Serve well, and you'll be treated like a prince," Miara purred from behind him. "Fail to satisfy any chosen female, and—" She drew a finger across her throat. The next several days passed in a blur of green, blue, and violet skin. Jason found himself passed from one alien woman to another, each more demanding than the last. While they treated him well, feeding him exotic fruits and energy-rich delicacies, allowing him rest between sessions, the constant demands were taking their toll. In his cell between encounters, Jason tried to maintain his strength through exercise and meditation. But after the 10th female, or was it the 12th, he was losing count. He began to worry about his survival. "You're doing remarkably well," Miara commented one evening, bringing him a tray of food. Something in her voice had changed, softer, less predatory than before. "Most males don't last this long." "Thanks, I think," Jason replied wearily. "Though I have to admit, this wasn't exactly how I planned to make first contact with an alien species." Miara sat beside him, closer than necessary. "You're different from the others we've captured. Not just physically stronger, but there's something about your spirit." Jason noticed she was watching him with an intensity different from before. Not just desire, but something deeper. "You're different too," he said carefully. "You actually talk to me like a person, not just a breeding specimen." She reached out, touching his face gently. "Perhaps because I see you as more than that." Her golden eyes held a warmth he hadn't noticed before. "The others, they only want what your body can provide. But I find myself wanting to know your mind, your heart." "That could be dangerous talk in a place like this," Jason warned, though he found himself leaning into her touch. "Everything worth having carries some danger," Miara whispered. "I've never felt this way about any male of any species. The others may want your body, but I—" She paused, seeming to gather her courage. "I think I'm falling in love with you." The revelation came during one of Miara's secret midnight visits to Jason's cell. She'd been bringing him extra nutrients and energy supplements, worried about his declining strength despite his remarkable endurance. But tonight was different. Her usually confident demeanor replaced by an unusual nervousness. "Jason," she whispered, her hand unconsciously resting on her abdomen. "I need to tell you something that changes everything." He sat up immediately, noting the subtle changes in her appearance. A new luminescence to her emerald skin, a slight tremor in her usually steady hands. "You're pregnant," he said softly, not a question but a statement. Her golden eyes widened. "How did you know?" "I've noticed changes in you over the past few days. Your skin glows differently in the dark. You've been avoiding certain foods, and you've been protecting your midsection unconsciously." He reached through the energy barrier, which Miara had modified to allow limited contact, and took her hand. "My xenobiology training wasn't just for show." "Then you understand why we must act quickly," Miara's voice carried an edge of urgency. "If the council discovers this, if they learn that I'm carrying your child." "What aren't you telling me?" Jason pressed, noting the fear in her eyes. Miara glanced nervously at the chamber entrance before continuing. "In our society, male offspring are eliminated. The council believes they weaken our genetic line. Only females are allowed to survive." Jason felt a cold fury build inside him. "That's why there are so few males in your species. It's not natural selection. It's systematic genocide." "Our society hasn't always been this way," Miara explained, her voice thick with emotion. "Centuries ago, a genetic mutation began affecting our males, making them increasingly passive and weak. The council's ancestors decided to take control of our evolution, eliminating what they saw as defective males, and carefully breeding the few who showed strength. But their solution has only made things worse. And now they're bringing in males from other species," Jason concluded. "But what happens to any sons born from these unions?" "The same fate," Miara whispered. Unless we get out of here," Jason finished. "Tonight." Miara nodded, pulling out a small crystalline device. "I've been planning this since I realized my feelings for you weren't just physical attraction. This device will override the cell's security systems, but will only have minutes before the alarms trigger." "What about the jungle patrols?" "I'm still lead huntress," Miara smiled slyly. "I arranged tonight's patrol schedules myself. There's a gap in the perimeter for exactly 17 minutes, starting at midnight." Jason grinned. "I knew there was a reason I fell in love with you." The admission made Miara pause, her golden eyes searching his face. "You love me? Would I be planning to escape with you, knowing we'll be hunted across the galaxy if I didn't?" He reached out to caress her cheek. "You saw me as more than just breeding stock. You respected my humanity while everyone else only saw my utility. How could I not fall in love with you?" A single tear traced down Miara's cheek. "Humans truly are remarkable. Your capacity for love, even in the most adverse circumstances." She straightened suddenly, wiping away the tear. "But we can discuss feelings after we're safely away. The patrol gap begins in 20 minutes. The escape plan was elegant in its simplicity. Miara had already packed essential supplies in her quarters, including Jason's original equipment. She'd also prepared a small scout ship, officially logged for a routine patrol of the outer territories. The cell's override worked perfectly, the energy barrier dissolving without a sound. Jason quickly changed into the tactical gear Miara had brought, far more practical than the minimal attire he'd been forced to wear in captivity. They encountered their first obstacle in the form of Sierra, the silver-haired guard, doing an unexpected round. Before Jason could react, Miara had already moved, her huntress training evident in the swift, silent way she disabled her former companion with a nerve strike. "She'll be unconscious for hours," Miara whispered, checking Sierra's pulse. "But we need to hurry. She wasn't supposed to be here." They moved through the crystalline corridors like shadows, Miara's intimate knowledge of the security systems proving invaluable. When they finally reached the landing pad where the scout ship waited, Jason felt his hopes rising. Then the alarms began to sound. "Someone found Sierra," Miara hissed, rushing to the ship's access panel. "We have maybe 2 minutes before they lock down the pad." Jason took up a defensive position, his military training kicking in as he heard the sound of running feet. "How long do you need?" 30 seconds to bypass the launch protocols." Her fingers flew over the crystal controls. "Just keep them off me until—" The first guards rounded the corner, young hunters in training, armed with stun weapons. Jason moved without hesitation, using his special forces training to disable rather than harm. These weren't his enemies. They were just following their society's rules. "Done!" Miara called out as the ship's hatch opened with a soft hiss. They scrambled aboard just as the first energy bolts began flying. The ship's engines were already warming up, thanks to Miara's remote preparations. Within seconds, they were airborne, climbing rapidly through the night sky. "They'll pursue," Miara said, her hands dancing over the controls. "But this ship has certain modifications. Benefits of being lead huntress? Nobody questions why you need extra speed or enhanced stealth systems." Jason watched the village shrink below them, mixed emotions churning in his chest. "Will you be okay, leaving everything behind?" Miara's free hand found his, guiding it to rest over her abdomen. "I'm not leaving everything behind. I'm taking my future with me." She smiled, her golden eyes bright with unshed tears. "Our future." The scout ship's warning system chirped urgently as 3 pursuit vessels emerged from the planet's atmosphere behind them. Jason, now fully dressed in his recovered tactical gear, studied the sensor readings with growing concern. "Those aren't standard hunter vessels," he observed, recognizing the advanced signatures. "The Council must have called in their elite pursuit squad." Miara's hands flew across the controls, her movements precise despite the tension evident in her shoulders. "The Crimson Wings, the Council's personal enforcement unit. I trained with them before becoming lead huntress." A small smile played across her lips. "But they don't know all my tricks." The ship dove sharply, skimming the upper atmosphere of a nearby gas giant. The pursuing vessels followed, their weapon systems charging. Energy bolts streaked past their hull, beautiful but deadly in the starlit void. "They're not trying to disable us," Jason noted grimly. "Those are kill shots." "The Council doesn't allow loose ends," Miara confirmed, executing a series of evasive maneuvers that would have turned a lesser pilot's stomach, especially ones carrying their precious genetic experiments. A new alert flashed across their screens. A massive vessel dropping out of faster-than-light travel directly ahead of them. Jason's heart leaped as he recognized the configuration. "That's an Earth Xenological Survey Course heavy cruiser," he exclaimed. "The EXS Horizon. She was supposed to rendezvous with me next week for my research pickup." "Your people came looking for you early?" Miara asked, hope coloring her voice. "They must have detected something wrong when I missed my regular check-in." Jason quickly accessed the communication systems. "This could be our salvation or our doom. The Corps doesn't take kindly to their personnel being abducted." Before he could transmit, the pursuing vessels opened fire again. Miara rolled their ship through a series of impossible maneuvers, but one bolt clipped their rear shields. "Shields at 60%, Jason reported, admiring Miara's piloting skills even as he worked to reroute power. "We can't take many more hits like that." The ship's comm system crackled to life with a commanding male voice. "Attention, unidentified vessels. This is Captain Edward Coleman of the EUXS Horizon. You have entered Earth-protected space. Stand down immediately or face consequences." "Edward," Jason practically shouted into the comm. "This is Jason Briggs, Xenobiological Surveyor Code Alpha 7 Delta, requesting immediate assistance and asylum for myself and one companion." There was a moment of tense silence as the pursuing ships continued their attack. Then the Horizon's massive weapon systems powered up, and a warning shot passed between their ship and the pursuers. "Jason?" Edward's voice held relief and authority in equal measure. "Where the hell have you been? And why are 3 alien warships trying to shoot you down?" "Long story short, I was kidnapped, escaped, and now I'm fleeing with one of my former captors who helped me escape because she's carrying my child, and her people will kill it if it's male." Jason paused. "I realize how that sounds." A deep chuckle came over the comm. "Only you, Jason. Only you could turn a routine survey mission into an interstellar incident." His voice turned stern again. "Incoming vessels, this is your final warning. The xenobiologist you're pursuing is under Earth protection. Stand down or be destroyed." The pursuing ships hesitated, then opened fire on the horizon. It was a mistake. The Earth vessel's advanced shields absorbed the attacks without difficulty, and its return fire was devastating. 2 of the pursuit ships broke off immediately, their engines straining as they retreated. The third tried to press the attack and was promptly disabled by a precision shot from the Horizon's point defense systems. "Bringing you in now." Captain Coleman announced as a tractor beam locked onto their small vessel. And Jason? The Admiral's going to want a full briefing on this one. As their ship was guided into the Horizon's massive landing bay, Miara finally allowed herself to relax slightly. "Will your people accept me?" she asked softly. "Accept us?" Jason took her hand, squeezing gently. "Earth has strict laws protecting refugees, especially in cases involving reproductive rights. Once they understand the situation and confirm you came willingly, they'll have to grant you asylum." He smiled. "Besides, your testimony about your people's breeding program and treatment of males will be invaluable for future diplomatic relations." Diplomatic relations? Miara arched an eyebrow. After everything that happened? Earth doesn't abandon potentially peaceful contact just because of initial hostilities, Jason explained. But we do insist on changes to protect human rights, and, in this case, the rights of all sentient males. Your people will have to choose between isolation and reform. The landing bay doors closed behind them as their ship settled onto the deck. Through the viewport, they could see Armed Corps security personnel taking up positions around their vessel. "Standard procedure," Jason assured Miara. "They don't know you're friendly yet." He keyed the comm one final time. "Captain, my companion is pregnant and needs medical attention. She's no threat. She's the one who helped me escape." "Understood," Edward replied. "Medical team is standing by." "But Jason, Command is going to have a field day with this one. Your mission report might just rewrite our first contact protocols." "Speaking of reports," Jason said as they prepared to disembark, "I did actually complete my xenobiological survey. Got more up close and personal with the subject species than originally intended, but the data is comprehensive." Miara punched his arm playfully, some of her usual spirit returning now that they were safe. "Is that what you're calling it? Data collection?" "Well, I had to find some way to maintain my professional dignity during my captivity." As they walked down the ship's ramp together, Miara's hand protectively over her abdomen and Jason's arm supporting her, they were met by a mix of curious and wary looks from the Earth crew. But Jason noticed something else in their expressions as they saw Miara. Recognition of her obvious beauty, yes, but also respect for the strength and courage it must have taken to turn against her own people for love. Captain Coleman himself stood at the bottom of the ramp, his commanding presence evident in his crisp uniform and stern bearing. Yet there was a hint of amusement in his dark eyes as he greeted them. "Welcome aboard the Horizon, Jason. I look forward to hearing how you managed to turn a simple survey mission into an interstellar diplomatic crisis." The Earth Diplomatic Corps headquarters in Geneva buzzed with unprecedented activity. 3 weeks after Jason and Miara's dramatic rescue, the incident had escalated into what media outlets were calling the Verdant Veil Crisis. Jason stood before the Council of Xenological Relations, his formal uniform a far cry from his jungle attire of weeks past. "Let me be clear," Admiral Harrison stated, his weathered face stern as he addressed the assembled diplomats. "The Verdant Veil clan's actions constitute multiple violations of interstellar law, including kidnapping, forced breeding, and genetic manipulation without consent." "With respect, Admiral," a silver-haired diplomat interrupted, "we're applying human standards to an alien culture. Their practices, while distasteful to us, may be perfectly acceptable within their society." Jason stepped forward, his voice firm. "Cultural relativism has its limits, Madam Ambassador. The systematic elimination of male offspring isn't just a cultural practice. It's threatening their species' survival. That's why they're kidnapping males from other species." The chamber erupted in murmurs as Miara entered, her pregnancy now visible beneath her Earth-style clothing. The assembled diplomats studied her with mixed expressions of curiosity and concern. Her emerald skin seemed to glow with health, thanks to the advanced medical care she'd received aboard the Horizon. "Distinguished members of the Council," Miara began, her accent lending gravity to her words, "I stand before you not just as a refugee seeking asylum, but as a witness to my people's descent into genetic manipulation and reproductive tyranny." She detailed the history of her people, how a natural mutation had led to increasingly passive males, and how the Council of Matriarchs had responded with their breeding program. Her testimony painted a picture of a society that had tried to engineer its way out of a crisis, only to create a worse one. "The human males they capture," she continued, her golden eyes meeting Jason's briefly, "demonstrate qualities our species desperately needs: strength, resilience, and most importantly, the capacity for genuine emotional connection. My people have forgotten that last part matters more than mere physical attributes. A young diplomat raised her hand. Are you suggesting that human men are somehow superior to your own males? Not superior, Miara corrected. Different. Where our males became passive through genetic manipulation, human males maintain a perfect balance of strength and sensitivity. They can be fierce warriors, yet gentle lovers, independent thinkers, yet loyal partners. She smiled softly. They possess qualities we once had but lost in our misguided attempt to control evolution. Admiral Harrison cleared his throat. The question before us isn't just about cultural practices or genetic diversity. It's about preventing the kidnapping and exploitation of Earth's citizens while potentially helping a species that's endangered itself through its own actions. We have leverage, Jason pointed out. The Verdant Vale clan needs genetic diversity. We could offer controlled immigration and voluntary genetic exchange programs, but only if they agree to stop their current practices and reform their treatment of males. And if they refuse, someone asked? Then we blockade their system, Admiral Harrison replied firmly. No more hunting parties, no more kidnapped males from any species. They'd have to face the consequences of their choices. The debate continued for hours, with various factions arguing for approaches ranging from complete isolation to military intervention. Through it all, Jason couldn't help but notice how the male diplomats seemed particularly invested in the discussion, while many of the female diplomats appeared fascinated by Miara's presence. During a brief recess, Jason found Miara in the garden courtyard, her hand resting on her growing belly as she gazed at Earth's sky. Having second thoughts? He asked softly. She turned to him, her expression serene. About us? Never. About my people? I worry. The matriarchs won't easily give up their power or their beliefs. They've ruled through control of reproduction for too long. Then maybe it's time for a new approach. Jason wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands joining hers over their unborn child. Your people need to see that there is strength in genuine partnership, not just controlled breeding. Like us, Miara leaned back against him, her warmth seeping through their clothes. Exactly like us. We're proof that different species can come together through choice and love, not coercion. He chuckled softly. Though I have to admit, being trapped and forced to prove my stamina wasn't exactly how I planned to find my soulmate. Humans, Miara laughed, turning to face him. Always finding the bright side of even the most awkward situations. Her expression grew serious. The council will want me to testify about everything, including the details of your captivity. Then show them that what started as exploitation had become something beautiful because we both chose it. He brushed a strand of her crimson hair back from her face. Show them that real strength comes from vulnerability, not control. The afternoon session began with a surprise, a transmission from the Verdant Vale Council of Matriarchs. High Matriarch Nira's aged face filled the main screen, her expression a mixture of anger and calculation. We demand the return of our property, she began, but Admiral Harrison cut her off. Living beings are not property, Matriarch. Earth doesn't recognize your claim on either Jason Briggs or Miara. Then perhaps we should discuss compensation, Nira suggested smoothly. We understand humans value trade agreements. We have much to offer. Including other kidnapped males, Jason stepped forward. How many are in your breeding program right now? The matriarch's composure slipped slightly. Our methods ensure our survival. Your methods ensure your extinction, Miara countered, joining Jason. Look at me, honored matriarch. I carry new life. Life that came from love, not coercion. Our child will be strong because its parents chose each other, not because of genetic manipulation. And if it's male, Nira's voice carried a dangerous edge. Then it will live, Jason declared firmly. And your people will have to decide, evolve or isolate. Because Earth won't stand by while you kidnap and exploit anyone else. The medical bay of the EXCS horizon hummed with activity as Dr. Sarah Chester, the ship's chief xenobiologist, studied the holographic display of Miara's latest scan. Her expression shifted from professional interest to amazement. Well, she said, looking at the expectant couple, I have some surprising news. You're carrying twins, and based on these readings, they're fraternal. One male, one female. Jason squeezed Miara's hand as she gasped. Twins? That's unprecedented in my species. We never have multiple births. Apparently, human genetics have more influence than expected, Dr. Chester smiled. Both fetuses are perfectly healthy, showing a fascinating blend of both species' characteristics. Before they could fully process this news, Captain Coleman's voice came over the intercom. Jason, Miara, you're needed on the bridge. We've received an urgent transmission from the Verdant Veil system. The bridge's main screen showed Sierra, the silver-haired hunter who had once guarded Jason. Her usual confident demeanor was replaced by obvious anxiety. Miara, Jason, thank the ancestors you answered. The Council has gone mad. After your escape and Earth's ultimatum, they've started purging anyone they suspect of harboring reformist sympathies. But that's not the worst part. She glanced over her shoulder nervously. They're accelerating the breeding program. They're planning mass kidnappings from multiple species, not just humans. How many support the Council's actions? Jason asked, his tactical mind already analyzing possibilities. Less than half the clan now. Your escape, your love story, it's inspired many to question our ways, especially the younger hunters. We've formed a resistance movement, but Sierra's image flickered as an explosion sounded in the background. We need help. The Council's loyalists control most of our weapons and ships. Captain Coleman stepped forward. This changes things. A civil conflict within the clan could destabilize the entire sector. It's also our opportunity, Jason pointed out. With the clan divided, we can help the reformists while rescuing any captured males. I know where they're held, Sierra added, and I can give you access codes to bypass most security systems. But you'll have to hurry. The Council plans to move them to a secret facility within days. Admiral Harrison, who had been listening via quantum link, made his decision. Captain Coleman, you have authorization for a rescue operation, but be careful. We want to help the reformists, not start an interstellar war. The next 48 hours were a blur of preparation. 3 Earth vessels, including the Horizon, would participate in the operation. Miari, despite her pregnancy, insisted on joining the mission planning team, her intimate knowledge of clan defenses proving invaluable. The Council never expected to be fighting their own people, she explained, marking vulnerable points on a tactical display. Their security systems are designed to keep outsiders out, not contain internal rebellion. The rescue fleet dropped out of FTL on the dark side of one of the system's outer planets. As they approached the clan's world, Sierra's resistance forces began their diversionary attacks, drawing loyalist forces away from the main holding facility. This is where it gets interesting, Jason said, checking his tactical gear one final time. He and a mixed team of Earth Special Forces and clan reformists would infiltrate the facility while the ships engaged any space-based defenses. Miara caught his arm before he boarded the insertion shuttle. Be careful, she whispered, pressing something into his hand. A small crystal pendant. It's a tradition among my people. When a female warrior expects a child, she gives her mate a focus crystal to carry into battle. Jason slipped the crystal under his armor next to his heart. I'll bring it back to you. All 4 of us have a lot of living to do together. The insertion went smoothly at first. Sierra's codes worked perfectly, getting them past the outer defenses. Inside, they found 12 males from various species, including 3 humans, held in conditions similar to what Jason had experienced. All were weak but alive. The Council's been busy, Jason muttered as they began freeing the prisoners. Some of these species I don't even recognize. That's when everything went sideways. High Matriarch Naira herself appeared with a squad of loyalist guards, her aged face twisted with fury. You dare return here? You dare corrupt our ways with your human notions of choice and love? Your ways are killing our people. Sierra stepped forward, her silver hair gleaming under the facility's lights. Look around you. We're stealing males from across the galaxy because we've destroyed our own genetic diversity. And for what? Pride? Control? For survival, Naira spat. Our males grew weak. We made the hard choices to keep our species strong. No, Jason's voice cut through the tension. You made choices that felt strong, but were actually weak. Real strength isn't about control. It's about adaptation, growth, love. He gestured to the freed prisoners. Every one of these males chose to resist you, showing more strength than your breeding program ever produced. The standoff might have ended in bloodshed, but fate had other plans. A group of younger clan members, led by some of the very women Jason had known during his captivity, surrounded Nira's forces. "We choose change," one declared, lowering her weapon. "We choose life over tradition, love over control." One by one, Nira's guards laid down their weapons. The High Matriarch herself seemed to age decades in moments as she realized her power was truly broken. The aftermath was chaotic but hopeful. The clan formally split, with the Reformists forming a new society that would work with Earth to establish ethical breeding programs based on choice and consent. The rescued males were offered either repatriation or the chance to stay and help build this new society. Aboard the Horizon, Jason held Miara as they watched the sunrise over her homeworld. "Your people chose a better path," he said softly. "Our people," she corrected, guiding his hand to her abdomen where their twins grew. "These children will be born into a world where strength comes from unity, not division, where love is chosen, not forced." Speaking of choosing, Jason smiled, dropping to one knee and pulling out a small box. "There's this human tradition I'd like to share with you." 5 years later, the new verdant colony's central plaza buzzed with activity as Jason watched his twins, Aurora and Alexander, play with other hybrid children. Their emerald skin gleamed in the sunlight, while their brown hair, a trait from him, ruffled in the breeze. At 4 years old, they were living symbols of the successful integration between humans and the reformed verdant society. "Still admiring your handiwork?" Miara's musical voice came from behind him. She wrapped her arms around his waist, her pregnant belly pressing against his back. Their third child was due in 2 months. "Our handiwork," he corrected, turning to kiss his wife. "Though I have to admit, I never expected to become the poster boy for interspecies relations." The colony had flourished in the years following the split from the traditionalist faction. Under the joint leadership of the Reformists and Earth Advisors, they'd established what the media dubbed the Voluntary Integration Program, or VIP, though some wags insisted it stood for Very Interested Partners. The program had started small, carefully screened human male volunteers, meeting with equally vetted verdant females who sought genuine relationships, not just genetic diversity. The success rate had been astronomical, leading to a flood of applications from both species. "Ambassador Sierra is arriving today," Miara reminded him, adjusting her diplomatic uniform. As the colony's chief liaison with Earth, she played a crucial role in managing the ever-growing program. "With another batch of volunteers?" Jason grinned. "The waiting list must be getting ridiculous by now. 300 human males this time, all pre-screened for compatibility and stamina." Miara's golden eyes sparkled with mischief. "Though none quite measure up to my original catch." The Earth Embassy's main hall was packed with eager verdant females, all dressed in their most attractive attire, waiting to meet the new volunteers. The scene was a far cry from the old days of traps and coercion. Now everything was based on mutual consent and attraction. Sierra, her silver hair now streaked with distinguished white, stood at the podium. "Welcome to the latest group of Earth volunteers. You've all been briefed on our culture and customs, but let me remind you, while our females may seem forward by Earth standards, you have the right to say no at any time." Jason couldn't help but chuckle at the expressions on the volunteers' faces, a mixture of anticipation, nervousness, and what could only be described as delighted terror. He remembered feeling similarly overwhelmed when he'd first encountered the verdant females' direct approach to courtship. "They look like they don't know whether to run away or propose on the spot," he whispered to Miara. "Can you blame them?" she whispered back. "Our females can be quite enthusiastic in showing their interest." As if to prove her point, a young verdant woman with azure skin was already flirting rather boldly with one of the volunteers, who seemed simultaneously flustered and fascinated. The integration program had led to unexpected benefits beyond genetic diversity. The human male's influence had helped restore balance to verdant society, while the verdant females had taught humans much about dropping unnecessary social pretenses in relationships. "Daddy," Aurora called out, running up with her brother. "Is it true that you and Mommy met because she caught you in a trap?" Jason lifted his daughter, noting how her golden eyes, Visa, just like her mother's, sparkled with curiosity. "That's right, sweetheart, though we don't do things that way anymore." "Because it's better when people choose each other?" Alexander asked, showing his father's analytical mind despite his young age. Exactly, Miara answered, ruffling their son's hair. Love should always be a choice. Later that evening, at their home overlooking the colony's central garden, Jason and Miara hosted a dinner for Sierra and some of the program's success stories. The atmosphere was relaxed and jovial, with couples sharing their own meeting stories. I still can't believe how far we've come, Sierra mused, watching the mixed couples interact. From hunting males in the jungle to hosting diplomatic mixers, the ancestors would be shocked. They'd be more shocked by how well it's working, Jason pointed out. The genetic diversity program is exceeding all expectations, and the psychological benefits of natural pair bonding are already showing in the next generation. Speaking of the next generation, Miara added, the latest medical reports show that all the hybrid children are exhibiting the best traits of both species: strength, intelligence, emotional capacity, everything we hope for and more. The conversation was interrupted by a commotion outside. A group of new couples was participating in a traditional verdant courtship dance, modified to be less aggressive, but no less passionate. The sight of human males learning to match their verdant partners' graceful yet powerful movements was both amusing and touching. Jason said thoughtfully, when I first woke up in that net, I never imagined I'd end up helping to save an entire species through love. Through love and other things, Miara teased, making him blush slightly. Though I still maintain you enjoyed your captivity more than you let on. Well, he grinned, pulling her close. Let's just say some traps are worth falling into. As the twin suns set over the colony, casting everything in a warm golden glow, Jason reflected on the strange journey that had brought them here. What had started as a shocking encounter in the jungle had evolved into something beautiful. A new society based on choice, consent, and genuine connection. The twins were playing with other children in the garden, their laughter mixing with the evening breeze. Soon they would be joined by a new sibling, adding another branch to their unique family tree. And across the colony, more such families were forming every day, proving that love could indeed bridge the stars.